Welcome to the deep dive. We take your curiosity, a whole pile of sources, and pull out the key insights for you fast.
And today, we're looking at something pretty fundamental, how our social world really shapes our habits.
Yeah, based on some great stuff you listener sent in, we're zeroing in on like three main groups, right? The
Mm.
close circle, the wider crowd, and the powerful figures.
Exactly. And there's this one story that just perfectly kicks things off. It's pretty incredible.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, it starts back in Hungary, 1965. There's this guy, Laszlo Polgar,
Okay.
and he had this really radical idea for the time. He was absolutely convinced that genius wasn't born, it was made through hard work, dedication, the right habits.
So not innate talent, he just thought you could build it.
Totally. And he was so sure, he decided to basically run an experiment on his own future children.
Wow. Okay, that's a bold move. How did he even start?
Get this, he actually wrote letters looking for a wife, specifically saying, hey, I want to raise geniuses, who's in?
No way. Seriously.
Yep. And he found Clara, who was a teacher, and interestingly, kind of agreed with his core idea that education could dramatically shape abilities.
So they teamed up. What was the subject? The genius area.
He chose chess.
Chess. Okay.
So their daughters, Susan, Sophie, and Judith, they were homeschooled,
Mm-hmm.
but their home wasn't just a school, it was basically a chess shrine.
Huh. What do you mean?
Chess books absolutely everywhere, history of the game, famous matches, and their life was just constant play, analysis, preparing for tournaments. Laszlo even kept these super detailed files on all their competitors.
So chess wasn't just like an after-school activity.
Well, not at all.
Yeah.
It was their entire world, their culture.
Did it work? I mean, the genius experiment.
Did it ever? I mean, the results are just staggering. Susan, the eldest, was beating experienced adult players within 6 months. 6 months.
What?
Sophia became world champion at 14, later made grandmaster. But Judith, the youngest, she just blew everyone away.
Okay, tell me about Judith.
So by the time she was 5 years old, she could beat her dad.
At 5.
Yep. At 12, she was the youngest player ever to crack the top 100 world rankings. Then, at 15 years and 4 months old, she becomes the youngest grandmaster in history.
Younger than Bobby Fischer.
Younger than Fischer. Broke his record.
Ew.
And then, she stayed the #1 ranked female player in the world for 27 years.
27 years. That's dominance.
It's an unbelievable demonstration, really. A real-world case study of how creating this intense, focused social environment around a skill can lead to just extraordinary results.
It sounds intense, though. Like maybe not a typical childhood.
Oh, definitely not typical.
Yeah.
But interestingly, the sisters themselves, they tend to speak positively about it. They emphasize that they genuinely love chess.
So it wasn't just forced on them.
They describe a real passion. There's this great little story about Sophia. Her dad finds her in the bathroom in the middle of the night playing chess.
In the bathroom.
Yeah, and he tells her, put the pieces away, go to sleep. And she apparently said, Daddy, they won't leave me alone.
Wow. That really shows how deep it went.
Exactly. And that hits on a key point from the sources. The Polgars succeeded because they built this, mini culture where chess skill wasn't just encouraged, it was the absolute highest value. It was normal. It was desirable.
So the habits that get praised and rewarded in your group, those are the ones that seem attractive to pick up.
Precisely. Which leads us right into this idea of social norms. That seductive pull,
Great. We all want to fit in, don't we? It feels primal.
It absolutely is. It's evolutionary. I mean, for most of human history, being part of the tribe, fitting in, that was literally survival. Getting kicked out, that was often a death sentence.
Yeah, safety in numbers, shared resources, finding mates, all that stuff.
Exactly. So that deep-seated need to belong still drives us, often totally unconsciously. It shapes so much of our behavior, even now.
So a lot of our first habits, we don't really choose them consciously. We just absorb them.
Pretty much. We imitate. Family, friends, the community, society at large. We pick up these unwritten rules, social norms that guide how we act every day. And mostly, we don't even think about it.
And going along with the group just feels easier, more comfortable.
Totally, yeah. Because of that desire to belong. Think about it. If your family values reading probably seems like a normal, good thing to do. If everyone at work is always super punctual.
You feel the pressure to be on time, too.
Yeah.
Or inside jokes with friends. You start using them to show you're part of the group.
Exactly. The behavior becomes attractive because it helps you fit in. It signals belonging.
Okay, so the sources break this down to imitating 3 groups. The first one is the close, right?
Great.
People near us.
Yeah, proximity is huge, both physical closeness, like who you live or work with, and also Emotional closeness. Your parents, your best friends, your partner, your immediate colleagues.
We just naturally pick up their habits.
We really do. It's often unintentional mimicry. You might adopt someone's posture or their way of talking, even accent sometimes.
I feel like I've definitely done that. You spend enough time with someone and suddenly you're saying things the way they do. Is there actual research on this?
Oh, absolutely. And it's pretty striking. There's this huge study, followed thousands of people for decades.
Okay.
And it found if your close friend became obese, your own chances of becoming obese shot up by 57%.
57% just from a friend. Wow.
Yeah. But interestingly, it works the other way, too. If one person in a close relationship starts losing weight or adopting healthier habits, the other person is significantly more likely to do the same.
So it's like invisible peer pressure.
That's exactly what researchers call it. It works both ways, positive and negative.
But it's not always negative then. Peer influence can be good. I remember reading about an MIT robotics class, I think. A whole bunch of them became astronauts.
Right. That suggests that being in a high-achieving, ambitious environment can kind of lift everyone up. You absorb those standards, those behaviors. There's even data correlating your IQ with your best friend's IQ.
Okay, so the takeaway is, if you want to build a habit,
Surround yourself with people who already have that habit. Immerse yourself in a culture where your desired behavior is just the normal thing to do.
makes it seem achievable, right? If everyone around you is doing it.
Exactly. It shifts your perception of what's possible, what's normal. Your environment sets that expectation.
So, want to exercise more. Hang out with people who exercise. Want to read more. Join a book club.
Precisely. And you can even take it a step further. Find a culture where the desired habit is normal and you already share something else in common.
What do you mean? Like, find your niche within that?
Yeah. Steve Camp's nerd fitness community is a great example. He brought fitness together with, nerd culture, video games, comics, that kind of thing.
So people felt like they belonged already because of the nerd connection, and then the fitness part felt more accessible.
Exactly. It wasn't just, I want to get fit. It became, I'm part of this group of fellow nerds who are also getting fit. It ties the habit to identity and community.
That makes so much sense. It's not just your personal goal anymore. It's a shared thing. That belonging makes it stickier.
It reinforces your identity, provides support, accountability. It all stems from finding that right group, that right culture.
Okay, so that's the close. What about the second group? The many. The broader crowd.
Right. This is about the power of conformity. And the classic illustration here is Solomon Asch's experiments from the 1950s.
Oh, yeah, the line studies. I remember those from psychology class.
They're really fascinating. So the setup was simple. You have one real participant in a room full of actors who they think are also participants.
And they have to judge line lengths.
Exactly. They see a target line, then 3 comparison lines, and they just have to say which one matches. Super easy task.
Okay.
And for the first few trials, everyone gives the obvious correct answer. The actors, the participant, everyone's in agreement.
But then comes the twist.
Then comes the twist. Suddenly, all the actors start giving the same clearly wrong answer.
Oh, right. And the real participant is sitting there thinking, what is going on?
Exactly. You see footage of this, and the participants look so confused, uncomfortable, they're squirming, maybe laughing nervously. They can see the right answer, but everyone else is saying something different.
And the crazy thing is how many people just went along with it, wasn't it?
It was astonishing. Nearly 75% of participants conformed to the group's wrong answer at least once, even though they privately knew better.
Wow. 75%. Why? Just to not rock the boat.
Pretty much. It shows that when we're unsure, or even when we are sure but face group opposition, we look to the majority for cues. What's everyone else doing? It's a powerful instinct.
We see this all the time, right? Like checking online reviews before buying something. We're basically trying to copy the best habit of the crowd.
Exactly. We outsource our decision-making to the group sometimes, which can be efficient, but there's a downside.
What's the catch?
Well, the group's normal behavior can actually override what might be better for the individual. The sources mention this interesting chimpanzee study.
Okay. Chimps.
Yeah. So if a chimp learns a really efficient way to crack nuts in one group, but then moves to a new group that uses a less effective method.
Let me guess. The chimp adopts the worst method.
Often, yes. It gives up its better technique just to fit in with the new crowd.
Wow. So fitting in is more important than being effective, even for chimps.
It seems so. That internal pressure to comply, to belong, is incredibly strong. The reward of acceptance often feels more important than being right, or even doing things the best way.
We'd rather be wrong with the crowd than right by
A
ourselves.
lot of the time, yeah. It doesn't mean you can't go against the grain, obviously people do, but it takes more effort, more energy. Changing your habits is just way more appealing when it helps you fit in, not stand out.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got the close, the many. What's the third group?
The third group is the powerful.
Powerful, like leaders, celebrities.
It can be, but it's broader. It's about anyone who has status, prestige, respect within a group or society. Think about it. Humans are driven to seek status. It's linked to better resources, mating opportunities, historically
All
speaking.
right, we want to be admired, respected. We want approval.
Exactly. So we're naturally drawn to behaviors that earn that respect and status. Once we feel like we belong, the many, the next step is often wanting to, stand out in a good way to improve our standing.
Which means we copy people who seem successful.
Pretty much. We look at highly effective people, people who've achieved what we want to achieve, and we try to figure out their habits. How did they get there? What do they do?
Like aspiring writers studying famous authors or entrepreneurs looking at industry titans.
Or cooks following master chefs, marketers copying successful campaigns. Yeah. We see that high status people get approval, respect, praise, and we want that too.
Hmm.
So the behaviors that seem to lead to that status become very attractive.
And the flip side is we avoid things that might lower our status.
Definitely. Think about why people mow their lawns or tidy the house before guests arrive. It's partly about avoiding social disapproval, right?
Right.
We're constantly, often subconsciously, thinking, what will others think of me?
That's a powerful motivator.
It really is. And we loop back to the Polgar sisters for a second.
Yeah. How does the powerful fit there?
Well, their intense dedication wasn't just internal drive. It was massively reinforced because chess skill had such high status in their specific culture, their family, the chess world. Being good at chess earned them praise, recognition, respect.
So the status attached to being a grandmaster, for example, made all that hard work seem worthwhile, attractive even.
Exactly. The approval and status markers fueled their efforts just as much as, or maybe even more than, just the love of the game itself. It shows how all these influences close. Many powerful can intertwine.
Okay, so wrapping this all up then, the big picture seems to be that our social world really defines what habits seem attractive or worth pursuing.
Yeah, fundamentally, our culture shapes what gets praised, what gets rewarded. And because we want to fit in, we naturally gravitate towards those rewarded habits.
And we tend to copy three main groups:
Hmm?
the people closest to us, the general crowd, and those we see as successful or high status.
Right. Which leads to that practical advice.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a new habit, find a group where it's already the norm, ideally one where you already have some connection.
Makes the whole process feel less like swimming upstream.
Definitely. And just being aware of that pull from the many, the tendency to conform, even when it might not be best for us, is really important.
Because fitting in often feels better than being right.
It often does. And finally, remembering that behaviors leading to approval, respect, and praise, well, they just have an inherent pull for us. Understanding that helps us choose our influences more consciously.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Take a second to think about the tribes you belong to. Your family, friends, work colleagues, maybe online groups you're in.
Yeah, what are the unspoken rules there? What behaviors get subtle nods of approval and which get maybe a slight side eye?
And how are those subtle pressures shaping your habits right now? Are they pushing you towards who you want to be or maybe holding you back in ways you haven't even noticed?
Yeah.
Definitely something worth mulling over. A really fascinating lens to look at your own life through.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.